Hi, class. Um, I graded and provided some feedback on your midterm progress report, so you got a lot of feedback in class, and I also posted even more feedback on Canvas. So be sure to check that out. I also have posted assignment 5 last week, and that is assignment 5 is all about guiding you in your final findings and the discussion conclusion section of your qualitative research report. And so, in your class feedback in the last part of that midterm progress report, I asked you to say what else I can do to assist you and guide you in this class. And some of y'all brought up, talking about the oral presentation. So I figured I'd just give you a video on that right now. A couple of y'all brought up coding software, even whether it's advanced qualitative coding software like NVivo or ATLAS.ti. There's other free coding stuff that I even sent out to you. And look, these are fantastic, powerful tools that you would use if you were doing like a PhD dissertation or a graduate project, or you had big, gigantic sample sizes of qualitative research. You're, a professor publishing academic articles. But for the scale of this one semester capstone, my advice is it's simply unnecessary. Using something so complex, expensive, even if it's free, the ones that aren't expensive, it's time consuming for your capstone data. So it'd be like bringing a commercial power washer to clean a small doghouse, or like bringing a power vacuum to clean like your welcome mat. It's overkill, and the setup time, learning curve, is actually will slow down your analysis. So as I've said in class, we've gone over coding extensively in class. For this project, the most extensive tools are your brain, and some type of coding manual that you develop. And we've talked about color coding. We've talked about how to do all of this in class. So basically, it's your critical thinking that is your best analytical instrument for a course like this. Um, and you can use things like, obviously Microsoft Word, Google Docs, to use a comment function that highlights tools for manual and NVivo coding themes, things like that. That's the best stuff to use. Or a spreadsheet, Microsoft Excel or something, to map your codes, track frequency, quickly analyze or quickly visualize patterns across participants or documents. So rather focus on rigor, not software. Mastering the logic of coding manually. That's what is important to see here. Seeing the patterns with your own eyes is the most valuable skill you'll gain, or one of the most valuable skills you'll gain from this capstone. So save the power washer for your dissertation. So here's my guidelines for your presentation. This is really your presentation is your chance to shine. You move on from research, from a written document into a dynamic, compelling story. You've earned the data. Now you need to master that art of translating it. So I'm going to talk now about how to use the required six-part structure of the oral presentation to your advantage, ensuring that your presentation is rigorous, that it meets all the requirements, and it's also engaging, that it makes your audience feel the research as well. And so the biggest mistake is treating the presentation like a checklist. Your paper is exhaustive, your presentation must be selective and evocative. And so the goal of qualitative capstone talk is to make your audience feel three things: trust in your method, intrigue about your findings, and connection to your participants or your data. Right? Those are the three most important things. Um, so there's a six-part structure for impact. I already have that on Canvas. So the required structure is a perfect kind of narrative arc, and this is how I would approach each section to maximize engagement. One, start with an opening scene. We've talked about looking at books like The Cocktail Waitress, even my stuff on Down and Out in New Orleans, of how you can describe a scene to highlight the central theme of your paper, of your topic, of your project. And I think that's a very compelling approach. And some of y'all are even starting your paper like that. So starting your presentation like that is pretty good. Um, And so, first, don't start off with "Hello, my name is" or whatever. Start with the data. You can even do something if you don't want to tell a whole kind of a brief story to highlight a theme. Use some type of power vignette, right? Like some type of opening scene. It could even be a single, short, compelling narrative, a quote, or an image that immediately throws the audience into your research world, right? What you've done. If you used interviews, use single, most emotionally resonant, striking quotes that you've collected. Put it in large font. Let it hang in the air for a moment. If you used observation, tell the audience the story of a single illustrative moment from the field. For example, don't describe the park. Describe the moment a participant first hesitated before answering a question and what that taught you. If you use content analysis, display the most controversial, surprising, or common phrase headline you coded. Right? After the scene, translate directly to "this scene," quote, headline, encapsulates, right, or captures the main theme of my project, which explores, right? Then briefly discuss your personal interest and the topic's wider importance. The second and third parts is your introduction and your literature review. So that beginning part can be 1 or 2 minutes, 2 minutes, something like that anyway, right? Part 2 and 3, introduction, literature review. Make that about 3 minutes or so. These sections are often dry, but they're essential for establishing your academic authority. So treat your literature review not as a list of authors, right, but as a scholarly conversation that you're joining in, right? So make the gap exciting. Don't just say there's a gap. Demonstrate that the current literature is incomplete or actively wrong or doesn't know enough about your phenomenon. Your research question should be the invisible, necessary response to that gap. Define your phenomenon. Clearly define the central concept you studied. Be concise, right? Use that purpose statement that we've been working on, right, and refining throughout the semester. The road to the question. Explain how the limitations of the existing scholarship, like what is unknown, naturally led to your precise sociological research question. This makes your project feel logical and necessary. Then you have your method section. Keep it only about a minute. Be strict. This section should be brief. The goal here is to establish trust and a fit for purpose. Focus on why your chosen method, whether it's participant observation or interviews or content analysis or sometimes a mixed approach, why this was the best way to answer your question, right? You can say participant observation was necessary because I had to move beyond the participants say and capture what they actually do, right? Something like that. Briefly explain how you earned your data, like snowball sampling to gain access to hard-to-reach group or purposive sampling to ensure diversity. Whatever it might be. So talk about that. And then data analysis. You can talk about analytic induction. Do not list the analytic steps, right? Open coding, axial coding. Instead, state the goal of your analysis, right? Like, for example, I used thematic analysis to move from individual words to uncover the 3 core themes of coping and resilience. So you can talk about how you may have used critical discourse analysis. Again, analytic induction. Remember Becker's kind of and Jack Katz, their approach to analytic induction, pretty good. Then 5, this is your main event. This is your results section. This should be, that 5 minutes or so. This is the heart of the qualitative talk. You must present your hierarchy of themes supported by clear, exemplary evidence. So you need to have a thematic hierarchy. Structure your findings around 2. We said 3 to 4. 3 to 5 major themes, right? Start with your most compelling or the most dominant theme and move on to the most nuanced or complex. And keep in mind, exemplary evidence is key. The requirements specify that your excerpts must illustrate a unique qualitative distinction. Do not use 3 different quotes to explain the same thing, for example. Focus on the how. Explain how each excerpt supports your assertion, how it supports your theme. If you share a quote, follow it immediately with a sentence explaining the quote's significance. Demographics. Present your composite demographic information quickly and early in the section. That 12 participants were split evenly by gender, whatever, age 22 to 55, represented 3 distinct neighborhoods or 3 distinct restaurants, whatever it might be. And then move on quickly. The data is the focus. And use your slides to display one piece of evidence, a quote, a table, a visual at a time, and use large font for quotes and avoid dense paragraphs. You don't want people looking at you, not staring at your PowerPoint. right? So don't put too much information on that PowerPoint. Um, and then you have your discussion section. This is the conclusion. Keep it, a couple minutes, 1 to 2 minutes, something like that. Keep it concise but impactful. Focus on the future. Quickly discuss how your findings compare and contrast with your literature review. Did you validate a theory, use triangulation, or did you overturn it? The so what, state the implications of your study, policy, theory, or practice, right? You can have a policy proposal in the end, even. Um, in the end statement, end with a strong suggestion for future research or a compelling, memorable application of your findings to the research setting. Do not simply say thank you for listening or something boring like that, right? End with something compelling. And just some tips for delivery and practice. The 2 minute rule, memorize the first 2 minutes of your talk. I think that's good, like the opening scene and the research questions. Getting past the initial nerves with confidence sets the stage for the rest of your talk. So I would recommend that. Memorize the first 2 minutes. Do not read a full script. That is boring, man. Nobody wants that. Use index cards if you want with keywords. Use short phrases for each slide or section. This ensures you maintain eye contact with people, and you also maintain, you speak with authority, which is important. And don't talk too fast. Sometimes I do, right? But slow down when you present a key quote or a vignette. Pause for a moment and let your audience absorb it. So practice like delivery of important stuff. Slides, visuals, less is more. Aim for maybe like 10 slides, something like that. Don't go crazy with the slides; it's just too much. And they should be a visual backdrop, them slides, right? Not a script. Don't use your slides like a crutch, right? Don't do that. Visual data, if using content analysis, use a single image or a table that clearly illustrates the frequency or intensity of the theme. For interviews, use a word cloud or a simple theme map instead of a complex bar chart, I think. Use a consistent color scheme rather, and font. Your presentation should look polished, professional. Question and answers. Listen, validate, answer, bridge. This is a professional way to respond. So listen and validate, say, that's a good question. Thank you. That gets to the core of what I was thinking or core of my argument, whatever it might be. Give your answer direct. Give it concise and supported by your data. And the bridge part, right? That's briefly explain the implications for the broader academic field or for future research. So, for example, you can say something like, and that's something that future quantitative or qualitative studies could explore. And so, look, you've done the work. Just make sure you tell the good story that it deserves. And I got nothing but confidence in y'all. Thank you very much.